Labdien visiem! Sveicināti! Good afternoon! Welcome to the discussion Nordic approaches to countering bullying. What can we learn? Šī diskusija būs angļu valodā, tāpēc, ja kādam vajadzīgas austiņas ar tulkojumu, lūdzu paceliet roku, un jums tiks pienestas austiņas. Redzu vairākas rokas, austiņas nāk. Thank you. My name is Anda Avana. I'm a communications manager and advocate for the non-governmental organization Centrs Darbdedze, who works in the children protection field. And today I have been given the honor to be the moderator of this discussion. It is organized by the Embassy of Finland in Riga in cooperation with the Nordic Council of Ministers office in Latvia in the framework of a Nordic Talks concept. And now, let's focus on today's topic. The main theme of Festival LAMPA is respect. And respect is also a skill that we would like for children to learn from the early years. But, for example, the latest survey of OECD PISA found that 35% of 15-year-old students have reported being victims of any kind of bullying in the last month. So that is a lot. That is not experiencing respect. It is opposite of that. And that's why today we will try to get a deeper understanding of the problem of bullying and also the causes, the consequences, and the real and practical solutions that we can learn from other countries, from Finland and Estonia, so that we could give our input in preventing bullying also in Latvia. So the participants today will be both online and offline in person here. First of our participants, I'm very honored and happy to see with us is Christina Treyel, professor of psychology from the University of Turku in Finland, and she has done research on bullying and its prevention for more than 25 years, and she would definitely be one of the leading experts in the world in this field. And together with her team, she has developed KiVa anti-bullying program, which is widely implemented in schools both in Finland and other countries. Then we have Christina Treyel. Hello. You are a co-founder and an active member of NGO Bullying Free School Foundation, which aims to reduce bullying in Estonian fields, in Estonia's schools. And she is a licensed trainer also for KiVa program, and her academic background is psychology. Then also online we have Ivans Jānis Mihailovs, Deputy Director of Department from the State Education Quality Service, and he has participated in the development of normative acts and planning documents, solving issues related to rights of the child and rights to education. Hello, Ivans. And Marika Anjana. Hello to you, and she is a co-leader of social project Nekluse, or Don't Keep Quiet, which is aimed at reducing the level of bullying in Latvia. Hello to everyone. I'm happy to see you both online and in person. And yes, we have only 1 hour for the discussion, so we will try to mind the time. And also, I will use my rights as a moderator to interrupt if we get too carried away. And if some of you have some questions, then in the end of the discussion you will be able to ask them, and also you will be able to ask them to each other if you have some questions. So let's turn to our topic today. And of course, before we talk about solutions, it would be good to understand the problem. So my first question to every one of you would be, what is bullying? So I would ask very short answers from you. How would each of you define what is bullying? I will start with the local perspective. So Jāni, please, what would be your definition in 1 sentence?
Hello. In 1 sentence, I can say it's a huge number of aggressive actions, sometimes verbal actions, sometimes psychological actions, sometimes physical actions, when some child or a group of children is aggressively towards other child, sometimes demonstrating power, or sometimes demonstrating different view, different position at the school.
Thank you, Jāni. Marika, what is your approach to this?
Actually, I would totally agree to this definition, and yeah, violence between if we are looking on the school perspective, then between kids, and which is repeatedly, and there is this power imbalance, and yeah, and there are huge kind of for all participants, not only for those who are suffering from bullying, but also for bullies and bystanders. There are afterwards, if they are facing this at school, then their kind of impact is through all the life. So we need to work on this so that we prevent bullying in the school perspective as such.
Thank you. And what about Estonia? Do you understand it similarly to Latvia?
Yeah, the tricky question is what is bullying in Estonia also, because there is a hard to find exact term. We use kiusamine, which in a common sense is a more softer version of bullying, but we have been doing more than a decade hard work to build up the concept of bullying in Estonian language, so that if people say bullying, they don't think it's something easy and teasing only, but it can be really, really difficult and really harmful acts of violence. And what I would like to stress is that if you look at the process of bullying, I wouldn't say it's a act of bullying, it's a process. Because you have one act of violence, another act of violence, it's a repeated thing that happens, and also the time between those acts is harming those people who are involved, and also it's like a relationship, harmful relationship, what we are talking about. It's more just a single violent act.
Thank you, Christina. So, Christina from Finland, do you have a one-sentence definition in your head?
One sentence is difficult, but usually in research we define bullying pretty much as Christina Treyel just explained. So we mean it's violence and it's repeated, it's systematically targeted at one and the same child. And of course, as Janis said, it can have many different forms. It can be verbal, social exclusion, physical, it can happen online. But one key feature is this, that it's repeated. And also it happens between unequal children. So the one who is targeted finds it difficult to defend him or herself.
Thank you very much. So yes, in Latvia we also have this debate about the right term, and there can also be different versions how we call this social phenomena. And yes, we use in Latvia the word mobbings, we use the word nirgāšanās, which is closer to the mockery, but we use it with quite similar meaning. But how far can we stretch the name bullying? Can we also speak about bullying from teacher to the child or from the child to the teacher? Christina, in Finland, do you include also the teacher in the bullying term?
Well, I think the teacher can be included in the term without doubt. When I talk about bullying, I mainly talk about bullying among children and young people, because that's what our research is about. So I have done studies on this topic for more than 25 years, and actually 30 years just now. And we have always done research with children, but of course it can also be a teacher who abuses his or her power on students.
Yes, thank you. So we are mainly speaking about systematic violence, physical or emotional violence between peers, between school children in this educational environment. Now we know what are we talking about, and so I would now like to ask the question to the public who are here with us in Cēsis. I have a question for you. No matter if we talk about the bully, the victim, or the bystanders, have you, when you went to school or in a school environment, have you encountered any kind of bullying in your life? So it doesn't matter if you speak about victim, bully, or the bystander. Could you please stand up if you have encountered this? Okay. Do we have anyone sitting? Oh, yes, we have lucky 4 people of the crowd who haven't done this. Thank you very much. So, yes, we tested ourselves that this problem is actually affecting us, almost all of us. So thank you for the honest answer from your side. Yes, so before we speak about preventing the problem, we would, I guess, need to look a little bit into the causes of this problem. So, Christina, in Finland, how do you look at the causes? What do you think are the main ones when you think about bullying? If you can emphasize some of them.
Well, one thing is, of course, that we human beings, we are very nice and good in many respects, but unfortunately we also have aggression in ourselves. We are also mean to each other. And I think this is part of the human nature, so we can't deny that. In groups, we often enjoy each other's company and we can do many nice things together, but groups are often also contexts where hierarchies start forming. And I think that very often bullying has to do with the formation of hierarchies and maintaining the hierarchies in the group. Bullying is related to social status and seeking social status and abusing your status and power by putting down others. This is one answer. I think the reasons, the causes of bullying are at so many different levels, from society level, school level, classroom level, individual level, families. So it's very impossible to say it shortly in one sentence, but this is one thing that I would like to emphasize. And also the fact that bullying often occurs in group, in a peer group. It's not something happening between 2 kids, the bully and the victim, but often the group is involved in many ways, and the group in a way feeds into bullying, fuels bullying, maintains it, even if the individual members of the group are against bullying and would like it to stop.
Thank you. Christina from Estonia, what do you think? Often I have heard from school teachers and principals that this problem comes from the family. What can we do? He just came like this and we have to work with the person here, but we can't change the person because he came like this from the family. Have you heard this?
Yes, of course, I have heard these kind of theories. And these kind of theories are supported by those researchers who have sought those reasons for bullying from inside every person related to this bullying incident. But what Christina also said is that a group has to allow this thing to happen. So the group norms may be the keys that help to reduce the bullying or support the continuous bullying in the classroom. And that is what teachers can work with. So teachers have powerful tools. They do have many options to work with group norms in the classroom, to design those group norms in a way that they are supportive, respectful, and don't allow bullying to take place. So the teachers do have, and school staff does have huge keys to reduce the bullying, even if the children come from difficult homes. Mm-hmm. So it is not an excuse to do nothing.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Jāni and Marika, you know that the results of the surveys about Latvia's situations are not flattering to us. It's not too nice numbers. Jāni, what do you think? Why are the indicators in Latvia so high?
No, I suppose the first problem is common understanding. On this common understanding of the bullying, sometimes when we ask children, have you experience with bullying? They say yes. And then it's question what really they understand and which experience they have. Also, the same is with teachers and with school principals. Sometimes when we ask, have you some experience with bullying? They say, no, rather no problem. After some explanation, we understand that we have problem. But I also suppose that it's maybe three reasons. First of all, it's this problem of common understanding. Second, it's lack of state policy, because we have a huge number of very well prepared, very well realized projects, initiatives. Thank you also for Center Dardedze, but it's very important, these common algorithms or common actions. And here I can say that for me, I suppose it's really a problem that sometimes some local governments are not so, they really thought that it's not so huge problem. They thought that it's quite a normal period of of children, so it's a normal period for human beings to be aggressive, and they, in school, it's possibility to study how we can manage this aggression. And this, the third I can say is that I suppose that also it's a social situation, and now if we speak about the COVID, I can say that also this aggressive actions in internet, we see that of course it's a rather new problem.
Thank you. That's really elaborate. Thanks. And Marika, do you have something to add about Latvia?
Yes, I would say that we need to look broader, and if we look on the situation in Latvia, then we are leaders on the violence as such among adults as well. And if we as adults are giving this example in person or online, that we are blaming government, we are blaming each other, school, teachers, and so on, then kids are seeing and learning from us. And if we could be kind of friendly, trustful and respectful, and they could see this example, then of course they could learn from us. And also, if they could see that we as adults are not allowing this bullying and violence as such, if we are saying stop, like, or somehow being active in these situations as adults, then of course there could be a better situation among kids. So this is my answer to this question.
Yes, I guess that's a big thing that also works here in LAMPA when we are trying to learn different kinds of aspects of respect here. Yes, Christina from Finland, we have a question for you. As you heard that, of course, there could be some underestimation of this problem and its consequences. What do you think? How would you explain how big is this problem? What kind of consequences does it create? Because, for example, in an investment case which was just drafted by the World Bank, I read that the cost of violence in and around schools in lost lifetime earnings could be of order of 11 trillion US dollars. And at the same time, some teachers or school principals could say that this is just a phase. So what creates such a huge amount of those the numbers? How would we explain shortly these consequences that bullying creates?
Well, it's known pretty well now. There have been several longitudinal studies on people who are now adults, who used to be bullied at their school days. And we know very much that the consequences can be very harmful. They can persist until adulthood. Depression is one common consequence of being bullied, especially when this experience continues for a long time. It really increases the risk for depression as adult. It also increases the risk for social anxiety, for distrust in other people, in lowered earnings, as you mentioned also, dropout from school, difficulties to be employed, and so on. So there are many negative consequences. There is no question about that. In Finland, we are right now doing a follow-up study where we approached young adults who were involved in our research when they were in school. And we can see also in that data of 25,000 people that those who experienced prolonged bullying in their school days show more depression symptoms in adulthood. And of course, such mental health problems, they don't also only cause financial problems for these individuals, but also for societies, because covering the costs of these mental health problems that adults may have, it's not a small issue. So actually there have been studies done in different countries showing that investing in bullying prevention programs actually pays off, because the savings for the society are larger than the investments made on such programs.
I think this is a thing that every politician and decision maker should be hearing. And this is really important, because this is not just solving some minor problem, this is really an investment that pays off. And Christine from Estonia, what do you think, when do we start to think about bullying? When do we start to focus on this? Because we have heard some campaigns or invitations that, yes, we have to notice it, we have to somehow react. But what do you think, when do we have to actually start dealing with this problem?
Mm-hmm. No, commonly we notice bullying when it already takes place. And when we notice it, it's good. Usually adults can notice or find out a small proportion of all the bullying that takes place between students. But we have to start tackling bullying long before this incident happens. So the bullying problem is a problem that needs thorough and continuous and systematic prevention long before there is even thought about becoming a bully or starting to bully somebody. So we need to invest into prevention practices, prevention actions systematically, continuously. I like to say that bullying prevention is a lifelong job for everybody actually, and it concerns everybody, not only teachers, not only students, but also parents and everybody else in the society, because if we allow bullying at schools, the bullying goes everywhere, in the workplaces, on the street, we can see it everywhere actually. And it doesn't go away by itself. I think the research has shown it quite convincingly, that if the states don't have anti-bullying policies, schools don't have anti-bullying practices that really work, then nothing changes, and we have 1/3, 1/5, 1/4 of the students that suffer from bullying every year. So it's a huge thing.
Yeah,
yes.
I think this is really an important point, that actually we have to start preventing bullying when nothing is happening, when nothing yet is happening, and that's the point where we can really try to prevent it from beginning for the risk factors to grow. I think this is a really important point that you're mentioning. But before we get into the solution part of this problem, I would like to check the opinion of the audience again. What do you think, whose job is it to prevent bullying at school? I will list some options. Please raise your hand if you agree that these are the ones who should be doing that. So, the first option would be children should solve it themselves. Who thinks that? No hands, actually. Okay, so we solve this problem. Yes, one. Okay, children have to do themselves. Yes, thank you for the brave answer. Second option would be parents. It's a parents' problem. They should be preventing bullying with working with their children. Who thinks that? You can choose also several answers. Yes, yes, parents, we have some hands already. Thank you. So the third option would be the teachers and the school administration should be the ones who prevent bullying. Who thinks that? Yes, 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 more hands coming. NGOs, maybe we three can prevent bullying from happening. What do you think? Yes, we have to go. And the last of my options, which I wrote down, was state or the municipalities. Who thinks that state and municipalities have to do that? Also quite a lot. So my conclusion would be that except the children who would just do it themselves, sorry, you're on the opposition here, but mostly I saw your hands that it's everyone's job actually to take some role into preventing bullying at school. Thank you for this. And so we know that in Finland and Estonia, there are already some systematic approaches and anti-bullying protocols going on. So how did you start and how is it actually happening? Please, Christina from Finland, tell us, how did you start on building KiVa and what does it actually mean?
Thank you. KiVa is a Finnish bullying prevention program that we started to develop 15 years ago, 2006. We were mandated to do this by the Finnish Ministry of Education at that time. And the aim was really to improve the well-being, school well-being and school liking of Finnish students in basic education, and especially by reducing and preventing bullying in schools. So KiVa is an acronym for Finnish words, kiusaamista vastaan, which means against bullying or anti-bullying. So KiVa schools are the anti-bullying schools, but the word KiVa also means something that's nice or good or so forth in Finnish language. So yeah, 15 years ago, and now KiVa has been widely implemented by schools in Finland. So the idea was from the beginning, the Ministry of Education and Culture wanted us to develop a comprehensive program that could be implemented widely in schools across Finland. And actually, since this wide dissemination started in 2009, we have seen a steady decrease, year by year decrease in the prevalence of students who are repeatedly bullied or who bully others at school. And today, KiVa is also being used in 20 other countries, and Estonia is one of them.
That's a really great achievement, and we would hope that it will grow in time. But what would you describe, what does KiVa consist of? How does it look like? Who does it work with? And yes, what is in it?
Yeah, there are three main components, I would say, and one is the prevention component. We talk about universal actions. Universal because they are targeted at everyone at school, all students, all the school staff. So this prevention is mainly done through a curriculum. So KiVa includes series of student lessons, 3 different curricula for different age groups. And these are really ready-made lesson plans that the teachers deliver in the classrooms. And there, the students, together with teacher, discuss issues that have to do with safety in groups, respectful communication, what to do when you see bullying happening, and so on. So this is the prevention part. Then the other important part is the intervention, and that means that when a case of bullying comes up, when it's found out that someone in the school has been bullied, the school's KiVa team tackles these cases, and they also follow up and see that the bullying has for sure stopped after the intervention. And in KiVa, they have very clear evidence-based guidelines how to do it, how to tackle these cases. And the third part is monitoring. And this means that we have online surveys for school students and for school staff. And they both fill in these online surveys every spring in the end of the school year. And each school gets school-based their own feedback on their situation. So they can see how they are doing and how their situation has been changing since they started to implement KiVa. So they can really also compare themselves to the national average. And that's also very important. So very briefly say it's these 3 components: prevention, intervention, and monitoring of the situation. And this monitoring data also is gathered by us, so we can analyze how the situation is changing at the national level.
And do you have every school participating in the program, or is it like mandatory, or the school chooses to participate or not?
It's not mandatory, so the schools have autonomy to choose whether, I mean, the schools are mandated to do something. The schools need to have some kind of policy or action plan against bullying. And this has been the case since 2003. But the schools were a little bit in trouble when they had this in the law that they need to have some kind of action plan, because they didn't know which actions are the most effective. They were not sure what to do. They were asked to do something, but they didn't know what they should do. So we wanted to provide them with something concrete, easy to use, and evidence-based that we have evaluated and tested in rigorous research.
Thank you very much. So let's turn to Estonia. You have also been using KiVa program for some time now. So how did you begin? How did you implement more systematic approach to this problem? And where are you now?
Our journey with KiVa started more than 9 years ago. We had a similar situation to Latvia. We had a situation where every fourth student was suffering from bullying every year, and it was huge. We have been on the top in a bad, I lost the word now.
We are the number one, so beat us.
We are quite near to you. We have been quite near to you. And in 2012, there was a group of social entrepreneurs that was teaming up to school psychologist organization and educational experts and me amongst them. And we were looking for solution, for something that really helps to reduce bullying. And KiVa was just finalized their research about their effectiveness. So it was the best thing in the world to take and to start adapting into Estonian educational system and to use it to help our teachers reduce bullying in the schools and help to support the development of mentally healthier children that could function better when they become adults, and children who can learn better now, because bullying reduces our capacity to learn significantly. So it was 2012. We created a small NGO, Foundation for Bullying-Free School Foundation, and we started. And the University of Turku, we are so grateful for them, because they were brave enough to start cooperating with this crazy bunch of Estonians that didn't even have a decent organization to begin with. And now we have adapted the whole program into Estonian and Russian, yes. And we have 110 schools starting with KiVa program this autumn. That means that in Estonia, 20% of Estonian schools are now KiVa schools. And we continue spreading, we continue working, and we are now trying to create even more better culture for the schools to embrace those toolboxes that KiVa brings to them, because it's not always easy to offer to school something that's really good if they don't feel that they need that. So this is the one challenge we are facing now, that those 110 schools felt that they need to do something to reduce bullying, and this is something wise to use KiVa, because you don't need to invent your own bicycle all the time, and this is like tested and well-working toolbox to use. So now we have to continue working with those schools who still are acknowledging the problem maybe, yeah, and looking for the solution for themselves that fits their own needs, and we are hoping that KiVa is the thing that fits their own needs.
Christine from Finland mentioned that it's in their legislation, the law kind of asks the school to do something about it, but it doesn't say exactly what, so they offer the tools. In Estonia, do you also have this kind of encouragement in the legislation, or is it not so?
We do have like really general hints for schools. You have to guarantee the safety of the child during the school day, and you have to protect the rights of the child and so forth. But the schools are not explicitly required to design their own action plans or policies to reduce bullying. We have a group of NGOs and organizations who have formed the Coalition for Bullying-Free Education, and we are really closely working with our Ministry of Education and Science, and we are like pushing to create this more state-level policy to support the schools' decisions on creating their own bullying reduction policies and action plans. So there is no clear requirement, but we think that it could be really useful and wise thing to ask them to do. So.
I also wanted to emphasize the thing that you mentioned, that not only we can see the psychological and long-term health effects and economical effects of bullying long-term, but also when you are in school actually living through the bullying situations in any kind of role, in a bully victim or bystander, even if you are a teacher bystander, this atmosphere of fear, that you have to fear that you won't be bullied or might it happen again, actually this stress really reduces the ability to learn. And if the teacher wants to teach something to the kids, or if the teacher doesn't want to be bullied in the end, so it's actually, it should be quite motivating for also the schools to look into this question. But of course, if we look at the schools, we see that now the COVID obstacles, we see different changes in, especially in Latvia, we have everything changing in the program, in the way we teach, and really a lot of different requirements and quality checking and different surveys and again programs. And so how can we help the teachers and the schools to navigate through these different kind of these requirements and also different kinds of new things that are coming? Maybe Jan, if I can ask you, what do you think? How do the teachers and the schools look at some new tools coming in? Are they ready? Are they open to take if we are offering it?
I can say yes, they are quite open, but first question is time for elaboration, because I suppose that it's quite easy to listen or to write some paper connected with anti-bullying program or anti-bullying policy, but it's quite difficult really per day, step by step, to elaborate this program in school life. And for example, we have quite good programs in social emotional learning, thanks to Baiba Martinson and Rita Niedre. We have some good initiative of Dardedze or Foundation Plets, emotional screening, but it's a question with everyday practice. And for me, this question of everyday practice is much more difficult, because it's very difficult to change quite everyday practice. And I can say that therefore in our conceptual plan or conceptual report to reduce bullying, we planned some workshops constructed as real simulation, real simulative possibility for teachers how we can change everyday school practice.
Thank you. And in Finland, what do you think about the different roles? Like Christina from Estonia mentioned that the NGOs are the ones who are trying to a little bit push positively the Ministry of Education in the direction of the anti-bullying programs. How it is in Finland? What are the roles? Who are the ones who are the leaders of this problem-solving issue? Christine.
Well, if I think about the state level, in Finland, the Ministry of Education and Culture has really been the driving force behind the KiVa development and in this respect. But I could say that also, I mean, if I think about anti-bullying work in general and not only our KiVa program, of course, there are several important NGOs that are involved and several stakeholder groups. Internationally, it's been interesting as we have spread with the KiVa program to other countries. We have partner organization in each country where we operate. Because sometimes individual schools contact us and ask, can we have this KiVa program? Can you send it to us? And we say, no, unfortunately, we don't operate in that way, but we want to have a partner organization in the country. And the partner organization is there to support the schools and teachers in this change of everyday practices and training them and supporting them. And our partner organizations in different countries, sometimes they are NGOs, sometimes they are ministries, Sometimes they are university-tied spin-offs. Sometimes they are private companies even. So there is a wide variety of different types of organizations and stakeholders that have taken this partnership with KiVa. But still about our situation in Finland, now our KiVa Finland, we are a small unit within the university. So we continue doing research and we continue supporting the schools. So I really think that what is important in KiVa is that it's not only a program that is written in some manual and then we give this manual and that's it. And then the rest is up to the schools. But for us, it's very important to provide support. So in the University of Turku, we have kind of the home nest of the KiVa program, and we develop it, we monitor the feedback that comes from the schools. We do new research, and we want to develop the program into better, and we also want to support those who are really working every day with the program. Sorry.
So how do you know that it works? You said that it's been proved, but how do you know that?
Well, in the very beginning, when we developed KiVa, we made a very stringent study, randomized control trial, which means that we had a bunch of schools, 260 schools, and we randomly divided them into KiVa schools and control schools. And they were basically similar schools in all other respects, but half of them started to implement KiVa. And then after 1 year of implementing the program, we compared the changes that had happened. So we had measured very carefully before the students' attitudes, their experiences with bullying, how they liked school, how motivated they were, and so on. And then after 1 year, again, we measured in KiVa schools and in control schools, several things. And what we found was that in very many respects, those schools where KiVa had been implemented had improved in so many ways. So this was the first Finnish study that we did. It included more than 30,000 students. So it was a huge trial and very stringent design. And after that, in other countries, researchers have done similar studies. So we know also from other countries, from Italy, from the Netherlands, also from Estonia, I have seen data. Christina can tell more details, but we know already, we have evidence from several countries of the changes. Yes. And also in Finland, since KiVa was then widely implemented in schools, that was really the turning point when our rates of bullying that were slightly increasing, they started to go down and decrease.
And very short question, who is usually financing it? Of course, it involves some costs. Does each school does it separately, or is it usually municipality or state financed? What is your experience in other countries? Also to you, Christine.
Which Christina?
Yes, from Finland. I guess you could know about who are usually the ones who are financing this.
Yeah, in Finland, first it was the ministry. They financed the development of the program and the initial implementation so that we could train all the schools to begin to implement the program. The ministry was financing this. Afterwards, it's either the schools themselves pay a small fee or the municipalities pay for the whole municipality.
Okay, did you want to add something? Yes? No. Okay, so we know that in Latvia also we have some positive changes, some positive initiatives going on. And Jani, I could ask to you, are we approaching this systematic solution, and what is being done at the moment? We know that some time ago 3 ministries made a cooperation group to tackle the bullying problem, but what is being done at the moment? What are the next steps? What is being done?
No, if we speak, as I said, we elaborated a conceptual report or conceptual plan to reduce bullying, and now I can say last word is our cabinet of ministers, because our cabinet of ministers plan to accept this plan, and then we will start to elaborate common guidelines and common algorithms how we can reduce bullying at the school. And I can say that now also, if we speak about the quality evaluation process of the schools, we also have some part of this, the part of evaluation connected with evaluation of anti-bullying policy at the school, and also we have some positive experience prepared with support of the European and state fundings. For example, we have the national project Pumpurs, a project in English, it's early school living reducing project, and also we have financial and psychological support for the pupils which have this bullying experience. Therefore, we have a lot of actions, but as I said, it's very important, this common understanding and common guidelines. Also, we have 4 steps in these guidelines. First, it's prevention. Second, it's solution if it's problem. Third is support for victim, for bystanders, also for bully. And the third is monitoring. We have these 4 steps, but each school, for each school, it's possible to prepare, to elaborate own policy. Also, it's possible to use, for example, KiVa experience or Lithuanian experience. Therefore, these common guidelines and common algorithms is only beginning for new attitude to the bullying. And I suppose that also this common understanding in terminology, common understanding for zero tolerance policy for bullying, it's a very important start for next years.
Thank you. Marika, could you add what is your opinion on the initiatives that are going on in Latvia at this moment?
I would say that we are missing these common guidelines, and I would say that we are happy that finally ministries of education, welfare and health ministry has come together, and already for a year starting to talk to each other and trying to prepare those guidelines and involve NGOs. So it's kind of step closer to this positive side, but still we are missing this common ground about what we are talking. Like in Latvian, for example, nirgāšanās, terorization, tyrannization, bullying, mobbings, and other terms which we are using in Latvian. And there are kind of, I would say, sometimes aggressive discussions between ministries, between NGOs and others. And if we don't have this common understanding, then how can we solve this problem? So this is one, and I would encourage ministries to define this term and also definition, so we have this common ground. And of course, afterwards, engage and talk more, not only with the NGOs, but also with schools, with principals and teachers, in order to understand what help do they need. Maybe in order to tackle bullying, we need to have additional support for teachers and psychologist consultations or other, because they are in huge stress and workload and other stuff, and also COVID situation. And if we are kind of now going and yes, we will set new guidelines, and you need to put your effort in order to reduce bullying, but if we are not giving them any support, then there will be no results. So somehow, yeah,
Yeah, thank you. And we are quite lacking the time to talk more in depth, but Christine from Estonia, what do you think? If you hear what is going on here, do you have some advice or something you hear that in which direction to go or what mistakes to avoid that you have already maybe experienced in Estonia?
First of all, when I learned that you have 3 ministries cooperating and stressing the importance of reducing bullying in schools, that's a brilliant moment to start doing really important and systematic work here. So in Estonia, sometimes the issue of bullying tends to drop between the ministries, and our organization has had support for 4 different ministries during these 9 years we have been working, and this has been a really good journey to learn how different ministries perceive some problems in the society, and they all think that reducing bullying is an important issue, but I think they sometimes are still discussing whose responsibility is to reduce bullying at schools. Now, what are my recommendations? When you're creating this system of reducing bullying in education, I would say in education, not only in schools, I advise not to forget the kindergartens and preschools for really early prevention, and also really important key lies in teacher training. So it doesn't help if you have the recommendations and the regulations, so that schools need to do something. We find in a situation that Christina described before that teachers know that they have to do something, but do they have knowledge and skills what to do? So if you have the requirements, if you have those state-level papers and guidelines, be sure that teachers also have those knowledge and skills to implement all those guidelines and requirements.
Thank you. So the time is ticking out slowly, so we would have a last big question to each of you. I will begin with Christine from Finland. So the new school year is coming, it's approaching, and so what could a school principal or a teacher, a parent or a child take from this conversation today and to make this school year better? Before all the protocols, before the state comes together and makes the guidelines, what can the people take from our discussion today?
Well, I could say something for each one of these groups. For school principals, support the teachers and show that you prioritize bullying prevention. And for teachers, do systematic work. And even if you think that nothing is changing, that's not true. Small things change and you are able to do it. And for students, I would say, when you see bullying happening, decide together with your friends that you show that we don't accept this and we don't want this to happen. Because after all, students, children and young people have the power to stop it. And to parents, maybe think that your example is important. But for overall, for all these groups, this is something that we have to do together. This is everyone's business.
Thank you. Christine from Estonia.
Hey to Christina. That's the most important words, I would say. And just learn what the bullying is. Make sure that everybody else around you knows and recognizes the bullying, and agree that you all together are responsible for letting it happen and also for stopping it. So this is the basic that creates the change. And this is something that every parent can decide with their children. This is something that every teacher can decide with her or his classroom. And this is something that every principal can decide with his or her staff members. So this is a joint adventure, joint activity, and bullying spreads among people, and people are responsible for stopping it.
Thank you. Jāni, what would be your wish for the next school year?
First of all, I suppose it's really important to notice every child, every pupil. Today, which is quite a difficult situation in our society, it's really important. Secondly, I suppose it's really important to use different initiatives, different possibilities how we can support. And for example, as I mentioned, we have this state, European and state budget project PUMPURS for reducing early school leaving, and it's also possible to receive support for each pupil. Therefore, it means that you really must be with interest and with initiatives to do something and to change everyday practice.
Thank you. Marika.
I would wish to each of us to listen in ourselves. How are we feeling, and maybe what kind of help we could ask for others. And in the case when we see bullying or other violence, not to be silent and to take action in order to stop bullying and to help to the person who is suffering from it. So yeah, I would encourage each of us to take action and not to be passive in these violent situations.
Yes, as we saw from the previous points, that yes, everyone has a role in these situations. And my wish would be, yes, that we understand that we have to shift from the project kind of thinking, campaign kind of thinking, to the systematic, as the Estonians and Finnish example shows us a really great example. And the second wish would be that we change the focus from the things that we want to eliminate, the things that we want to prevent, to the things that we want to grow. And we actually focus on the social emotional skills, the tolerance, the empathy, and the things that we want to grow. And we also show more the good examples also publicly, so that others can follow. Thank you very much, every one of you. And does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hands, and microphone is coming to you. Microphone, please come to the lady. Can you please come, microphone? It's coming.
Hi, I'm Evie, and my question is, why aren't we in Latvia just implementing this KiVa program? It seems that it's knowledge-based, it's science-based. A lot of countries are using it, just not just Finland that's using it. So why aren't we just implementing copy-paste? That would be the easier solution, it seems so, at least, from what I learned in this discussion.
And who would you like to address this question?
I mean, the Latvian representatives.
Jani, could you comment on this? Why don't we have it yet?
We decided that we start with common guidelines elaborating, and then it's possible for each school use KiVa program or their own program. Therefore, it's possible, but it's not like an obligation for the school. Our position, we have common guidelines at the state level, and then each school can develop each programs, can use good practice, and can be successful with school approach.
Thank you. And my little comment would be that we, until a few years ago, I think we haven't grown to this awareness that this problem is really so important, and that the willingness of the state, of the ministries, and all the other involved parties was not yet ready to tackle the problem in a systematic way. Now we have reached the level that we understand this problem, and I think that now is the time that this solution can come also to Latvia. Of course, yes, now we don't have this partner organization for KiVa yet, but I think it's a question of time. Do we have any other questions? Yes, microphone, please come to the man here. Please say your name and then question.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Kalvis, and I wanted to reflect about something that Christina from Estonia said about that if we don't prevent bullying in schools, it spreads everywhere. And this year in LAMPA, we've heard a lot about populism and rise of authoritarianism and decline of democracy. Would you say that combating bullying in schools might contribute to enhancing the quality of democracy in future and to some extent prevent authoritarianism from spreading.
Christine. Yes,
Me
you.
probably, yes. Yes, I believe that in a society where there is less bullying, there is more respect, more tolerance towards people who are not really looking or acting like ourselves, who are a little bit different. And we tolerate those differences better, probably. And we can be more attentive or more respectful for those differences. Bullying basically says that power or harming other people in the name of power, in the name of gaining power, is okay. This is bullying. But if we say that it's not okay to harm other people in the name of power, then it says something about the actions also in the politics. So I think it goes really down deep into the values inside every person, also inside every political person. So if it is okay to harm other people in the name of power, or it is not. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you, Christine. And I would also add that in preventing bullying prevention programs, one of the big emphasis is actually really learning empathy, really learning those social emotional skills, learning respect, learning tolerance. And I think we're not just learning what not to do, we are learning what to do. The children are learning what to do. Also, the teachers have also to learn these skills because they didn't do that probably those times when they were learning. And yes, anti-bullying programs are actually teaching respect from very early age.
And I would add not only to children, teachers, but also parents. And
Yes.
what I like in KiVa program, that there are trainings for parents each year.
Yes, totally. Because yes, probably children's nowadays parents didn't have these programs for them. We have to learn all together, the kids, the parents, and the teachers. So our time is up. I'm really thankful for every one of you. I'm thankful that Christina from Finland came to Latvia. Just couldn't come today here, but she's here nearby. And thank you everyone who was here. And we hope to meet you again in person. Goodbye, everyone.